Welcome to the Roadshow podcast.
All right, so we were talking prior to the podcast. I said I have a negative outlook on the way artwork is being portrayed through AI, and the simplicity of it is the thing that gets me. Right? I understand that most of the things that are just on display from the coding are other pictures that people have made, and then it kind of like fucks with it a little bit and puts it up on its own kind of like, this is my art now. Yeah. That's why I don't like it.
Correct. I think it's wicked, AI art. Yeah. And I think it's wicked because everything in this world is going fake. And if you're real, then you've got nothing to fear. You can't fake real art. You cannot fake watching someone paint, being filmed painting. And for all those, I think it's just going to be easier for the fucking awesome artists to just float to the top, you know?
That makes sense. That's like putting a hierarchy to artists as well. But I think there's something to the AI being, it's almost like it's almost sentient. You know what I'm saying? It can almost think for itself. If it's creating artwork, there's automatic prompts that they can do now where you say, like, one AI will tell another AI to make art. So, like, if you need a website and it's built by AI, it'll just pop up straight away, and then it'll create all the AI through another AI. I mean, artwork through another AI. Yeah. Which is like, what the fuck, man? It's like cutting out every job.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It's AI is a tool at the moment. That's being, people are scared or people aren't scared. But I think with art, AI comes down to, you know, we're humans and we can see through fake and real. AI isn't creative. It picks and chooses other artists' work. And then with art, it might be cool hanging a picture on your wall, but you're actually buying the artist. Yeah. So, yeah.
Does that mean AI art is basically worthless then? If you're buying the artist?
I don't think we've had enough time to set a precedent yet. Yeah. But I do know that there is a war on copywriting AI art at the moment, a legal war, and that's going on in America right now. Yeah.
I know in music as well, like there's been a few albums dropped under other pseudonyms, and it's like using the transposer. So like you'll get somebody's lyrics and then put somebody else's voice to it, which is so fucking strange, man. Yeah. Like as if that's a thing. You can like now have a whole Notorious B.I.G. album and he's been dead for 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it separates the actual artists who have got the talent, the skill, the drive.
Pull that mic in a bit. There you go.
Better? Yeah. I'll go back and forth. I'm very animated.
Just grab it when you do it.
I tell you. Yeah. Get my practice on. I think that with AI, the best opportunity is the people that have got the talent, got the skill, the drive, and the passion to be able to produce work, and then people will pick that straight away. And so I don't think that there's ever going to be a market for AI art at all.
Yeah, it would make making money too easy.
Yeah, well, the differentiating factor will be that, so in art, you've got art, pure art, original art from the artist, and then you've got graphic design. I think that AI art will fall into the graphic design category. We'll see that happen.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's already kind of happening already. Have you seen like the commercials and stuff that they've been making with AI?
Yeah.
It's so strange, man. Yeah. It's so strange.
I like it. I like it because I think that it's going to just create authentic artists. Yeah.
Yeah, because it gets rid of all the fluff.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Just because, you know, people are smart enough to pick out what's real and what's fake. You know, people are way smart enough.
So when did you pick up art?
When did I pick up art?
We should probably tell people about your credentials a little bit, eh? I think so.
Yeah. Wow. I'll spark this up.
Yeah, no, go for it.
One of my first memories is painting, drawing. It's one of my first memories
As a child?
As a child,
Right.
two or 3 year old. So I've always had the passion for art, but due to other circumstances, which we'll probably go into depth on a bit later, I didn't really touch it until about 5 years ago, full time, and then I moved to Milan in Italy, trained as an artist, and came back to Australia and just pursued that full time, self funded.
Right. So what were you
Yeah.
doing over in Milan?
I trained as an artist.
Like
Yeah.
full stop.
Man, I stayed in the piazza of Caravaggio and like living in that energy. Just as an artist, just creates this dawning feeling that is what you have to do. That's your life goal. That's your purpose.
Wow. That's hectic. So how long were you there for again?
9 months.
9 months. And what did you come out with before going in?
Well, if we backtrack a bit, so cut a long story short, I was diagnosed with PTSD in 2018. I was very blessed to be able to have a doctor here in Perth, Dr. Genevieve Milnes. She did her thesis, her PhD, on 3,000 men here in Australia with PTSD, and she cured that with a method called CBT, cognitive behavioural therapy.
Right.
And that changed my life. And like I was a workaholic for 13 years in the mines, and then she was just like, take a holiday, and like the idea of a holiday was so foreign to me. She's just like, take a month off. Ended up taking about 3 years off, like working. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, just because. So I go into philosophy about it later, but like we are not born to work a 9 till 5. No one is.
Amen, bro.
No one is at all. And that's probably like the whole purpose or driving factor that I got with a lot of people that I meet, you know. People have got no self-identity because when you go to a bar and you meet someone, what's the first thing you're going to say? What do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? And so we
Which
have
is a
that.
very strange question.
Yeah.
You know?
To ask someone straight up. But like if that's the majority of people. So when you meet someone straight up and they're like, man, this is what I do for work. It's like, okay, cool. Who are you? You know, that's what I want to know about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was sort of like the driving force in, you know, my purpose, I suppose. Yeah.
There's
for the art.
There's an old fable, and it was about, there was this guy, and he came into like a bar or something like that, and there was an Indian man standing there, and he goes, "What do you do for a living?" And he says, "I breathe." What do you do? And that hit me when I read that in a book. I think it was The Knights of Babylonia, and it's just kind of strange how we associate status and all these different things to what you do for the majority part of your day.
Yeah.
It's very strange because I know I have friends that, and I'm not going to name names or anything, but I have friends that won't hang out with a specific type of group because they don't make enough money.
Yeah, it's like, a bit pretentious, but
yeah, what is that?
Yeah, but I think that we've got into a position in a time in history where our identity is intrinsically linked with what we do and who we are on the social status ladder hierarchy, and that sucks. I think
does.
And I think that if I was to, boldly put it, it's a fucking genocide on humanity at the moment. Having that,
It unlinks humanity from humans,
yeah,
which is kind of strange.
yeah. Well, it's the whole we're more connected than ever, but less connected to humanity than ever.
Yeah. That's why the argument for the Matrix and us being batteries is a very real thing, because finances are a way of energy now, right? More finances you have, more things that you can do.
Yeah.
Just in
Commodity.
Yeah, it's like it's a commodity, but it's a base form energy.
Yeah.
Just like when you have an abundance of health, you can do whatever you want to do. But as soon as you have shitty health, you can't do fuck all.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same with wealth. If you have a ton of wealth, you can pretty much do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And if you got fuck all, you can't do much.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? It's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that our weekly wage, or the average mean weekly wage for everybody, puts us in a savings bracket of about $150 to $200 per week, right? So everything added up, food, fuel, rent, phone, internet, all the extra shit that we told we need, that is added up to almost our wage, which means that we don't really have the ability to save a decent bunch of cash to then follow your dream. We don't. And there's no coincidence with that.
Yeah.
At all.
To keep you down.
Yeah.
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 They don't want thinking people.
Yeah, well, that's the whole idea behind one of my series, The Gilded Cage, right? We live in apparent freedom, but we live so beautifully, yet we don't look inward. And if we were to look inward, it'd be, fuck, we're caged because, you know, I work up until I'm 60 years old or 70, that's retirement age, but I can't do anything with the life experience and little wealth that I've got to keep me alive for the next 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's no coincidence that the retirement age is that far along.
And getting pushed out.
Yeah. I think it's like 68, 70 now.
Yeah, it sucks.
Like
That's bad.
that's 10 years until you're fucking 80. What the shit is that? Like, how can you function? Like, my nan's
terrible.
doing it. She's 91 and still lives by herself.
That's awesome.
But she didn't work her whole fucking life.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
she made it happen. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
She's a G. There's too many people now that I think get stuck in that rat race, but they see other people doing what they want to do, and there's kind of like a slow awakening, like an enlightenment. And I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got some pretty good perspective on that enlightenment thing at the moment.
Let's go.
So, yeah, I guess like one of my big things is, so if I was to sort of pin my message in art and philosophy and talking to people, it'd be to zoom out, right? Zoom out of every experience.
Just
and
pull that mic in. Come on.
Oh, sorry.
It's malleable. Just jerk it around.
Awesome. Yeah, so it'd be, so my philosophy would be, in a nutshell, to zoom out, right? So look at every situation zoomed out. So all through history, people have identified with, well, up until the Industrial Revolution, with a religion, right? So everyone was some sort of religious thing, right?
Correct.
Then we get to the Industrial Revolution and the logic, reason sort of center of our being, and it was told that, no, you can do this on your own without a higher power, right? And we've developed this like logical way of living. Everything's apparently logical, right? And we have this reason of progression, and the progression is we don't know where we're going. But I strongly have I have a strong argument for the last sort of 5 years being a post-secular world we're starting to phase into. And when you start to talk to people and open up that, you know, that layer deep, one layer deep, it's, yeah, I'm wanting to talk about spirituality. Yeah, I'm wanting to talk about manifestation. Yeah, you know, what's further? How do I get, you know, this breath work? What's vibrational frequency? What's energy? And there's so much more questions around that. And I actually think that we're coming into one of the best periods in time. So
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the divisional separation of like religion, race, all these different things are just an argument to keep us going so we don't gain that enlightenment.
Yeah.
Which is, we are all the same. Even in religion, like I have a Quran and I read through the whole fucking thing just to see what is it about? What makes the Bible and the Quran so different? And they're the same fucking book. Like they're literally the same book.
Essentially.
So you're basically just arguing over one prophet who's espousing the same shit as this other prophet, and you're saying that you've got the right book. But if there was a gain of like awareness that you were talking about earlier, we wouldn't have these arguments. We wouldn't have these disputes.
Yeah.
I believe wholeheartedly. There's a guy named Michio Kaku, and he has basically this theory that there's 3 stages to a civilization, and it's about dominating the solar system, which is as a stage 1, we need to come together and like band together so there's no more like, unjust killing of our own. And then as soon as we do that, we're going to be peaceful and cool, and then we're going to harness other energies.
Yeah.
And from there we can traverse space and stuff, but we can only do that if we stop the fighting here, which is very strange, because I think that music and art are the two things that have brought more people together than anything else other than war.
Yeah, I would absolutely second that.
Yeah.
And I would second that off the basis of art. Well, so art as a sort of umbrella term, I believe that art and culture and fashion and everything that falls underneath actually precedes reality by about 10 years, right? So what people are designing now, and they're at the forefront of their design, we'll see in 10 years' time as mainstream culture, right? So artists, I believe, are the front runners, the forerunners for culture.
They are 100%. It's like even in clothing, like the whole Kanye West shit when he brought out those red boots, the Yeezy boots.
Yeah,
I was like, what the fuck is this shit? But it's just taking a bunch of different ideas and throwing them against the wall like shit to see what sticks, you know? And apparently it fucking stuck because there's a lot of brands out there right now that have similar products.
Well,
They want progression.
Yeah.
Just like all the Nazi outfits were made by Ralph Lauren and Hugo Boss. Those brands are now the biggest brands in the world.
Yeah.
And like
I'm pretty sure Gucci served.
Gucci and Coco Chanel was a Nazi sympathizer as well. I literally just had this podcast. We went deep.
Yeah, really? Yeah.
Fanta was created by Nazis.
Really?
Yeah, because they stopped sending Coca-Cola to Nazi Germany, and they were like, "We need something," and they had.
What? Because they could extract the cocaine out of it back then.
No, it wasn't about drugs. They just loved Coca-Cola so much.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so they brought out Fanta, and it was a cola to begin with, and then it transferred into orange, which is very strange. But anyway, to lose the thought that I was just going off of, I think there's something to constantly progressing, whether it be artwork, any type of media form, any type of economics as well.
Yeah.
Economics are one of those things that you think it wouldn't be creative, but it was created.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now there's you've got cryptocurrencies and
Yeah.
all these other little fucking things that people are dominating.
Yeah.
And I think there's just going to be a slow progression into what you're saying where there's an amalgamation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually believe that everything is created twice, once in your mind and once in reality.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when you zoom out and you have a think about it, you're like, yeah, okay, wow. So somebody's mind built this.
Yeah.
Somebody's mind put together these wires to get back to the computer. You know, it's an amazing thing.
Yeah, true.
And which makes me believe that the human brain is the most powerful organism in the universe.
Yeah, the human nervous system's kind of fucking creepy.
It's wild.
Yeah.
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 And you know what's funny about that is that whenever you learn something new, you're actually creating a new neural pathway, right? Which means that everybody is creative. And you know the amount of conversations I've had with people that go, oh, I can't even draw a stick figure. It's like, well, if you think about it, it's 10,000 hours. That's it. You are a master at what you do at work. If you put 10,000 hours into that, man, you'll be a pro.
Most of the people that say they aren't artistic or couldn't do art, they're almost, what's the word? It's counterintuitive to their daily, you can still tie your shoes without thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's basically just saying you're putting your hands up and you don't have the willingness to learn.
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah.
It's just laziness.
Yeah, I think that creativity is actually switched off in grade 1 and grade 2 at school.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
100%. Even though they have art class.
I failed art.
Did you?
Yeah.
Why?
I was a shit student, but
Yeah.
I didn't ever fit into the educational system that we have got going on now. That was.
Did you finish school?
I did not.
Me neither. What year?
I was out, started my trade in grade 9. Yeah, so I was out pretty early.
Same.
Yeah. I was given my trade papers for my 18th birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I'm a little asshole because I left school to do a trade and then got to my 3rd year of the apprenticeship and I was like, fuck you.
What's your trade?
Glazing. But I didn't finish it, so it's not really a trade.
But you can go back and do RPL.
I'll never do.
You'll never. I know. Well, and you know what? You know what the funny thing is, man, is that now that I have tasted with this fucking freedom, I will never ever go back and work for somebody in a 9 to 5 ever.
Yeah, it gets like that.
Yeah, and you know what? everyone's got a price, yeah, whatever. There's no price on the freedom that I've got right now at all.
Why do you think people do succumb to like the 9 to 5?
Safety.
You reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because if you again zoom out, it's born from our forefathers, right? So after World War II, it was get a job, have a job, hold a job, support your family, be safe, go to school, get an education. Don't, the fear of another war happening like that drove them to be safe and boring. And that's what got us to our point right now. Absolutely, safety.
Yeah.
But also, I think now there's a lot of control. I feel as though like I have conversations with people and, they're happy in their job. And I'm just like, well, yeah, being lied to.
Yeah. It's very interesting that you say safety, because after every war, there seems to be like the balance period.
Yeah.
Where everything just cools down. But I think like after COVID happened, and I'll probably have to bleep that out because I get demonetized every time I say the word.
Really?
Literally, dude.
Learn to say it backwards.
Evoke?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evoke.
There
you go.
Okay.
Well, is it really COVID?
Yeah, well, I think the flu went to 0 when it was going crazy.
Did.
Yeah.
Statistically.
I think that's not water.
Okay.
That's
what
gin.
is it? Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, and I like the whole safety thing is interesting in that when they need you to adhere to the propaganda, they make it scary. So they tell you to stay indoors, or they say that Russia's going to attack, or some shit, right?
Yeah.
And then you hoard all your resources, like the toilet paper epidemic.
Oh, man.
That was the real pandemic, let's be honest.
That showed human sheepism at its fucking finest, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was wild to watch. And what was more wild was how young people treated old people inside the shopping centres.
Yeah.
That was fucked up.
Yeah.
That was shit.
Humanity went out the fucking window.
Yeah. Yeah. Our apparent civilized nation, first world country, went out the fucking window, bro.
Yeah. It's fucking strange how that happened, man.
Yeah.
All within like 3 months, we're all just like scared to be around people. Ew, you don't have a mask on? Ugh.
Yeah.
What the fuck was with that?
That's a tester of what's to come. Absolutely.
Do you think there's going to be another?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be worse. Because now they've set the precedent that everyone can stay inside their homes if they're threatened with their work, their safety, right? If they're threatened with ostracisation of their peers, 100%. Now that precedent is set. They know. Those doors are open and you can't ever walk back from that. The only way to fix that is revolution.
That means rebelling against the leaders, right?
Well, that means creating a system that's actually better. So a revolution to work needs a majority vote, right?
Yeah.
All you need is all you need right now is for 10 million people in Australia to not pay their mortgage for 3 months. That'll fuck the system. That's all.
Yeah. Fuck.
Commonwealth Bank posted a $10.16 billion profit 2 days ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a quarterly or
That's
annually?
a yearly.
Yeah.
FY23.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
And what does that service? Well, the new CEO got a pay rise of, I think it was about $4 million, right?
Jesus.
So this is some crazy stats, man. So $10.16 billion. Commonwealth Bank has got 15.9 million customers. For every one of those customers, they have paid $660 on average to service that $10 billion profit unnecessarily.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I was doing some research last night on the credit card, debit card, Amex transaction fees, and how this whole narrative of going cashless is actually servicing that money, where the funnel of that money. So if I pay cash for something at a point of sale, I don't get charged a service fee. for using a card. When I
Correct.
use a card, tap and go, whatever, I'm getting a 1% service fee.
Yeah.
Right? 1% of any transaction. You know, like if I'm buying a $2,000 computer.
Yeah. $20 straight to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they always say cash is king, right? But it's because it goes from person to person and doesn't inflate.
It's also because it's untraceable. Right?
Oh yes, it is. Have you sold many of your paintings in cash?
Never.
Never.
No.
So it's
Well, actually, when I first started, I had a shop in Freo Markets. I was the only original artist there. And yeah, a lot of people paid in cash.
Yeah, of
in
course.
Freo
In markets. Yeah.
Well, or it's Freo.
Yeah. They're doing something
Freo.
dirty down there.
No, love Freo. But yeah, I mean, like it's a sort of, how do I put this? Number one, I love Freo, but it is, the whole suburb it's a pseudo, it's out of the mainstream rest of Perth or rest of Australia, right? It's like, it's a sophisticated hippie town. It actually is, and I love that. They hold true to culture and art.
I believe hippies are actually, it's kind of fascinating. I watched Wild Wild Country.
Haven't seen it.
It's a Netflix documentary about this guy that was like a prophet. What was his name? Rajneesh. His name was Rajneesh, and he spoke to a bunch of people in India. And do you remember hearing about like the 60s and 70s where people would go over to India to try and find enlightenment? This guy was at the forefront of it. So he understood finance and then started buying up property in America. And out in Oregon, he bought a small ranch. Oh, no, it wasn't a small ranch. It was a 60,000 hectare ranch. And he converted it. But it wasn't him that did it. He sent like a barrage of hippies. And they basically created a whole new city. And they started buying up the towns around.
Really?
Yeah. And they had, it was in the middle of the desert. They had sustainable food coming. They had a fast food place that like was nowhere else in the world, just in this one place. And it was all like rice and vegan shit. Nothing wrong with vegan shit, but I guess I'd be looking for some venison or something out there for sure.
Yeah.
But the craziest thing was, in this like desolate country, there was no greenery. There was no fauna and flora.
Okay.
As soon as they came back, they dammed up like a stream, and all of the fauna and wildlife came back. And then green pastures started to rise.
After they dammed it?
After they dammed it.
So that'd be fluoride.
Fluoride?
Yeah.
Explain.
So in most streams they'll put fluoride, right, which is a byproduct of aluminium, into the water. So if it's
How does that help like pasteurization and stuff?
well, so if they dammed it up, right, and there was no water flow,
Yeah.
you would assume that the fluoride in the water would be stopping things from growing.
True. That would make sense. It would stop. It would, and I think the damming itself gave even distribution of the water,
Okay.
so they were able to utilize it, and
Yeah.
like their irrigation systems were like spot on.
Yeah.
But I think with the stream that was just there, it was basically just going over sand and being sucked back into the.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a fucking wild story, dude.
So like an economic guru, this guy.
I think the people that he kind of led in the beginning, he knew that he needed lawyers, he needed farmers and all this. So he kind of like put the tentacles out there. If you have a friend, that does a certain, a specific thing, very, very smart, intelligent dude. And then started like a sex cult.
As you do. Natural progression.
It literally went from hippies in like, what are those monk dresses? What are they called?
Not tourniquet.
It's like a sarong kind of thing, They were always wearing these orange and red robes.
It'll come to me at 3:00 tomorrow morning.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And then after that, they started still wearing red and orange, but they wore suits. And because all of the towns around them were hillbillies, all the hillbillies didn't want them there, so they would drive around with these giant shotguns and rifles. So they armed up. They created an entire like shooting range on the
like
ranch.
a micronation.
Like a micronation.
So Australia's had micronations, and there's a couple here in Western Australia.
Go on.
Yeah. So in the 60s and 70s, funny, beautiful time, great year. there was a loophole. My understanding was there was a loophole in the Commonwealth law that allowed somebody to fence and segregate, grow their own crops. If you wanted to come on to the land, you'd have to have a passport. He issued his own currency, sold his wheat back to the conglomerates that buy wheat. No tax, nothing. There's if you research that, there's actually a micronation here in Western Australia.
Jesus.
And they tied that law up, which you can't do it anymore.
Yeah,
But
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy, you need a passport to get on his land.
Whoa.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like
I wish I had more information now.
almost border control. Let's have a look.
Yeah.
Let's do some research.
Yeah, micronation, Western Australia. It's fucking cool.
The Principality of Hutt River.
There it is.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
What the fuck? Often referred to its former name, the Hutt River
Oh,
Province.
look at that. It was dissolved in 2020.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, it's not in existence anymore.
God damn. How big was it?
Leonard Casely.
What
Castley.
a G.
Yeah, man.
Leonard's a G.
Yeah, yeah. The Principality of Hutt River. Micronation.
Insane.
Yeah, bro.
Oh, I've got some reading to do.
Yeah, man.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I think there's
Oh, yeah, actually, he called himself Prince Leonard of his own fucking
Oh,
land.
of course he did. Of course he did. That dude was up to some
I
shady
know, man.
shit.
I know. I know, but I think he just sold wheat back to the conglomerates with no tax. That's the loophole that he got around.
Oh, so it'd be 100% profit.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Whoa.
Yep.
Yeah, they would shut him down instantly.
Yeah, well, it says here that it was dissolved in 2020 and that it was founded in 1970.
It dissolved 2020, the
Yeah.
3rd of August.
Yeah, recently.
Yeah. So only like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
man.
It was located 517 kilometers north of Perth, near the town of Northampton.
Yeah, so near
Holy,
Gero.
I was literally like there 2 weeks ago. What the fuck? I didn't know this.
Legend.
What a legend.
Yeah, man.
That's insane. But I do understand why someone would do that, for sure. Like,
Man, if I could do it, I would.
yeah.
For sure.
Well, I think the way it's like everything's taxed over here, I don't think wheat should be under the same tax bracket as oil. And like, what is the iron ore? You know, those high tax brackets, they make sense for those companies. But
Yeah.
for like wheat,
Yeah.
you know, that's a crop.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I would agree that different tax bracket should be made for what you can pull out of the earth naturally and then want for something you grow.
Yeah.
So that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah. Because with growing crops, I know single crop agriculture relies heavily on the nitrous oxide.
pH levels of the
No,
ground?
it's like something to do with like the nitrous inside of nitrogen. Nitrogen inside of the ground, and there's only so many.
You just want some names right now.
Yeah. Ding, 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 ding. And you can only crop so many seasons over. I'm pretty sure that's
correct.
So there's apparently in America for all their wheat crops and like lettuce and stuff, they can only get like another 40 cycles out of it before that becomes desolate land.
Okay, right.
So if you've ever seen that movie, Come to Me.
Another 3 a.m. job.
The one with Matthew McConaughey, Interstellar.
Interstellar.
Have you seen that?
Such an emotional roller coaster, that movie. Love it.
Yeah, so they leave Earth to find new land because of single crop agriculture has like made everything like the desert. They pulled all the nutrients and they can't make any more food, so they have to leave.
Yeah.
That's pretty much where it's heading. I know that kind of seems like a far-fetched idea, but we're in the midst of like Elon Musk going to Mars, and then you've got all of these crops that probably won't last forever, but vegans think that that's possible.
I'd like to believe that Red Hot Chili Peppers are true when they say that Hollywood is I would like to believe that Red Hot Chili Peppers are true when they say that the moon landing was in a Hollywood basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's too much evidence now that it goes the other way.
Yeah.
I think America thinks it was real because they want to dominate, but because of the Cold War and Russia, In 1972, there's no way, between 1969 and 1972, there's no way that that happened because they haven't revisited since. And we have apparently like 100x'd the technology in rockets.
Yeah.
But they still haven't gone back. Why?
Okay. So there's a few. This opens up the most beautiful conversation ever. Ever.
Go.
So I hate the term conspiracy theorist. Fucking hate it.
Why?
Because in mathematics, right, which is mathematics in our minds is a universal language, right? 1 + 1 = 2. That's, you can't fuck that up,
Correct.
right? However, there is a subsection of mathematics called contrarian mathematics.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Which is, in its simplicity, contrary to the mainstream belief. So conspiracy theorists or conspiracy theories are a label put on something that is just not in the mainstream channel of belief. So if I've had hundreds of conversations like this, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're peddling bullshit, and it's like, no, I'm a contrarian, right? I believe in something that's contrary to the mainstream belief.
Narrative, yeah.
Right? Yeah, narrative. So if I had a purpose in life, it'd be to see those fucking words be undone, conspiracy theorist, because then it's so easy just to label someone, right? And then just to turn their ideas off, but everybody's ideas are valid. If you have, well, to a degree.
Yeah, of course. I understand what you get.
T's and C's.
Yeah.
To a point, everybody's idea is valid. Somebody that wants to talk to somebody about an idea, fuck, man, like, you have got the right to be able to talk to someone without feeling like they're going to fucking shut you down with, and it's a woke, left, liberal ideology to shut down and censor. That sucks. I really think that it's unfair. So if you take the logical thought train as if you don't believe what you're being told or sold, and you have an idea that's contrary to, what you're being told and sold, then you're actually a contrarian. That's it, plain and simple. You think contrary to the main belief, and you're allowed to. Fuck.
Yeah, a lot of conspiracy theories now have been proven conspiracy fact, which is like, that's so fucking twisted.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
Conspiracy fact?
Yeah.
You fucking idiots.
Yeah.
You plain dumb idiots.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to admit that it's an actual fact.
So
They
they
just still want the little fucking conspiracy.
Yeah.
Fucking retards.
Yep.
Wow.
That's a fucking... It's another loophole to make you seem like the crazy person.
Yeah. It's the height of stupidity.
Yeah. Which is so strange, man, because as if you can trust certain governments and like...
I don't.
Well,
At all.
I'd like to say that they're nice people.
Well, they're not.
But they're just... It's like working for an organization. It's a company. It's the biggest companies in the world.
Yeah.
And they have... It's like
How
Netflix.
Deep, how deep do we want to go around?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to skew that line. It's almost like Netflix. Like, Netflix is in every single household, but when you don't use Netflix, you still have to pay it.
Yeah.
Right? Tax is exactly the same.
Yeah.
When
Overseas.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. I don't know where I'm going with that thought.
No, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
It does.
And I agree.
It's very scary to think that like these small narratives and stuff can be pushed so easily these days, just so we can adhere to more of the narrative.
Yeah.
Like it makes sense that America would want you to think that they landed on the moon at that time.
Yeah.
Because it puts them so far ahead of the race.
The Soviets at the time.
Well, yeah, Soviets at the time.
It was the race to the moon, obviously. But they wanted to be first. Film it in a Hollywood basement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
It's the same with quantum computing right now. Like America, China, and Russia all have fingers in the pie of who can get there the fastest, who can dominate and get a quantum.
What's the result?
in terms of...
So there's a race, but what's the end result? What's their target for quantum computing?
Quantum computing basically gives us the ability to do everything instantly, even access any bank account, encrypted account. Like, if they get this done, cryptocurrency is out the door. Like, there's no way that you could further have, what would you even call that? Like a higher extensive cryptology to your accounts. It's already the most advanced.
So
it's basically just financial domination.
Yeah. So crypto is an interesting subject, man. And here we go. What movie was that from?
Here we go.
Wait. You got to close your eyes. Listen.
Okay.
And here we go.
No.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh,
Yep.
yes.
Yep. Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Heath Ledger. He's fucking talented, dude. It's a shame.
Fucking shame, bro.
You know, he only grew up like
10
minutes from here.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yep.
Crazy.
Legend.
Absolute legend. Who was your favorite Joker?
Who was my favorite Joker? How do you pronounce his name? I'm just going to say Joaquin Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix?
Joaquin.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, I think that he really provided an insight into
Mental health.
But the mentality of how somebody gets from A to murder.
Yeah.
Right? A to B, A to murder.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing because, man, I've been there and I resonate so much with the mentality of that. So I didn't tell you this the other night when we met, but I grew up in a religious cult. I was born into a religious cult.
No way.
In Queensland. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Can I ask what cult?
Yeah, it's called Plymouth Brethren. That's the dogma, right?
Okay.
But in this day and age, you would know them as exclusive brethren.
Okay, right.
Right? Yeah, so I was born into that.
Is that like a Mormonism kind of thing?
Nah, so there's all different types of denominations under the banner or umbrella of Christianity.
Okay.
You've got Catholicism, Anglican, Baptist, Pentecostal, all that sort of stuff. And then you've got brethrens and then exclusive brethrens. And these are like the Australian version of Amish, right? Except without the hard physical boundary, okay?
Okay.
And the boundaries are boundaries of the mind, right? So they float through society. You would never, ever know who they are, but they are one of the most powerful organisations in Australia, right?
Whoa.
Rich motherfuckers.
Really?
Rich as fuck, right? They're in every business. They're in every tentacle of government. They're in every position of power, and you would never know it, right? I was born into it, so which means I had no choice. Ever since I had memory, I didn't want to be in there because their value system and what they taught did not align with who they were or what they did and practiced throughout the week.
In what way?
Well, so they're teaching religious principles, right?
Okay.
Love your neighbour, all this sort of stuff. Number one, some of the most judgmental people I've ever met in my entire life, right?
Is that right?
Not reflective of what they're teaching, right? So what they're teaching is Jesus, love, all this sort of stuff. Man, I have obviously sat inside a church looking like this, and I've had a woman sort of shoo her children away from me.
What
right?
the fuck?
Yeah. And then 2 days later, I'd be sitting at church, and what I mean by church, in a bikie club, right? And they love you for who you are, right? They're like the brotherhood of motorcyclists.
Yeah. They don't
love you.
They don't give a fuck what you
not
look
at all.
like.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And so the contrast between sitting in a church that preaches love and preaches acceptance and preaches tolerance. Man, I'd hate to be someone that was so desperate in need of love and attention, and they thought that the church was going to do it, and then by the way that they looked, weren't approached or talked to, right?
Yeah.
How fucking bad would that be?
That is fucked up.
But I get more love with my mates sitting down at the club. You know what I mean? Like, that's so wild. So I was born into that, right? And that was my whole like vision. And from a very, very young age, I was at loggerheads with what they were teaching and how they lived. And that created a superhuman curiosity in me and actually gave me, I feel, powers of observation. So my job as an artist right now is to observe. So I observe, you come to me for a commission, I observe your story. We go out on the piers, we have dinner. You tell me your story without talking to me, you know, like who you are, everything like that. My job is to convert that and put it on a canvas. Yeah. Right? Yeah. That's my job. I observe. And the powers that I've been given through that observance, through 20 years of being inside that cult, sort of led me to where I'm at right now. And it's funny when you talk about the boundaries, they're psychological, right? So if you sin, you fuck up, or you feel as though, or they feel as though you're like the black sheep. Yeah. They'll let you go and do it, right? They won't stop you. But what they will do is guilt trip you, shame you, gaslight you into coming back, being on your knees, praying, I'm sorry, right? And if I was to ever believe in a God, which I, do, but I'll get onto my belief of a God and it'll blow your mind. It's great. But if I was to ever believe in that God...
Well, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
When did you break out?
So I was officially excommunicated in August 2017.
So 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's still quite late in life.
Absolutely. But ever since I had memory, I knew that was this life on the outside. And that's all I ever wanted. Yeah. And so whenever I tried to do this life, it's classified as a sin, right? I could not do art for 20 years, right? What? Because art is a free expression of thought. Yeah. And any free expression of thought to a tyrannical dogma is seen as threatening, right? To their particular way of living, their way of life, right? And I had suppressed my art. I'd suppressed my creativity to please them. And that's what I did. And, man, being excommunicated was one of the best and worst things in my entire life. I mean, the best thing that ever happened to me was that I believe that I've got a second chance at life, right? That's and awesome. Every single fucking day, I'm living as if it's, one, my last, but two, I've got this whole new world and this adventure to do and people to see and places to draw, everything,
That's epic, dude.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Which gives me gratitude for life, right?
It would do, for sure. And
then from the gratitude is that, like, I've got these fucking goggles on and I want to show everybody those goggles, that sight, that perspective. And, I feel as though if I can go through it, then anybody can step up out of a dark place and then move forward, and then even move forward with vigor, with a dream that they've had for ages, and then pursue that, That's the message, man. I had fucking beers last weekend, and I won't say any names, but I'll let everybody else make their deduction on who it is.
Okay.
I had beers with a guy that had his 4 kids murdered, his wife, and then the guy that murdered everyone died. But this guy, man, I'm like, this guy is still smiling. He had his 4 children murdered.
That's wild.
And I sat across the table like where you are now, and I'm like, bro, how are you still smiling? And you know what, man? The fucking media destroyed him.
Why?
Because the media need a victim in their a villain, in their narrative.
Yeah.
And before before any investigation happened, they blamed it on him.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Holy
and he was
shit.
he was fucking destroyed. And you know what's worse? Is like
Blaming a fucking
Yeah.
quadruple homicide.
quadruple homicide, man. And,
Oh
you know,
my
anyone
God.
who's in Perth and knows their shit will know the story that I'm talking about. I had beers with him last weekend. And, man, he still manages to have a laugh. But, the grief has taken a fucking physical toll on him, man.
Of course.
You know? Whenever I'm around people, I make a joke, you know, like I've just turned this age or whatever. And then, you know, I'll think of an age 10 years younger and go, oh, you know, you don't look a day over 25, all right? And I thought that he was about 60.
Really?
Yeah, and I said, man, you don't look a day over 45. And he goes, I'm 43. Man,
Oh,
he
wow.
is... The media have fucked him. They blamed him, and now he goes around. The trust that he has with people and humanity is this big. And for me to actually crack open a conversation and talk to him, that was like a couple of hours, bro, you know, before he was able to open up just this big, you know. And I'm like, you know, those stories, I'll get to it a bit later, but those stories, as unfortunate as they are, they're so powerful in the fact that, you know, the guys that we know that have committed suicide in the mines and all that, these stories can help them if they have the platform, you know. And with myself, I'm so blessed and very humbled to have been given a, you know, second chance at life. And that's sort of where I want to go with it. You know, so straight after leaving the cult, I was diagnosed with CPTSD, which is a complex form of PTSD. So PTSD, in a nutshell, is one traumatic event, hyper-traumatic event, that sets you on a path of anxiety, stress, depression.
Self-destruction.
Yeah, absolutely. Spiral. Complex PTSD is multiple traumatic events over an extended period of time. Army, right?
You were in the
No, I wasn't Army, but this is the example.
Oh, okay.
So,
Same as that.
Army personnel,
Okay,
right?
right.
So like that, when you imagine, so a car accident victim, PTSD.
Singular,
Okay?
yeah.
Singular. You go fucking do 10 tours of Afghanistan, you're going to have a very, very complex form of PTSD, okay? Now, I went through a fringe method of healing, so away from the mainstream belief, right, of psychological healing. And it's called CBT, Cognitive Behavioural Therapy. And basically, I'll get back to the being as dark as I possibly can, man. And in all honest truth, I remember sitting in this woman's lobby, right? And I did not know if I was going to kill her or kill myself or fucking stab some. I just did not know that. I was fucking terrified of my own capability. The loss of control, what's real. Like nothing was real. You know, nothing was real. And it's like, where am I? Who am I? No identity, no worth. And this was coming out of a fucking religious cult that told me who I was meant to be for 20 years of my life, right? And I came out of that fucked in the head, man. I was fucking cooked. And you know what? I was still functional at work and functional with the execution of work, but around my peers and around my workmates, man, I was a fucking terrorist. And I live with regret for how I treated people and projected my pain onto people, right? I fucking spent years in the mines projecting my pain onto people, and I hurt a lot of people. And, you know, it's that's something that I've got to live with. And if I ever have the opportunity, it's always an apology. Here's where I was. If you allow me a conversation, you know, I'm going to look into your soul and tell you that is not who I am right now, and that I apologise for any pain. And if there's a chance for healing, then I'd love to take it, you know.
It seems the inability to control yourself when you have that internal pain, it's reflective of the lack of healing that you've got or have been through.
Well, that's funny because in an emergency, everybody resorts back to their last level of training. That's why we train SES. That's why AMBOs are trained, right? They're focused on the job. Everyone's scattering. Everyone's fucking, don't know what to do with a car accident. There's a head over there and a body there. AMBOs know what to do, right? No one knows what to do in their in crisis, right? I absolutely second that.
Yeah. I remember maybe 2 years ago, I was driving pretty close to here, actually. It was near the Tonkin Highway entrance. And a elderly gentleman and his Asian partner, he was elderly and she wasn't. So it kind of seemed like she might have been like a mail order bride or something, right? They had a bunch
Passport bros.
Hey,
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
There's a name for it. Passport bros. Yeah.
But he brought her here, so mail order, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Yeah. They had a bunch of like skirting boards from the boot going all the way to the dash, and they all had nails in them. And I'm in a truck just behind them. And we pull up to the set of traffic lights. I'm probably still 100 meters away from the traffic lights. It goes green. And then there's another set of traffic lights for Tonkin Highway. We pull up to, it goes green as they're going through. And I'm probably about 50 meters behind them at this point. And I kept my cool. I just like hung back a little bit because I saw the lights were going to go like orange then red. Just as they cross over, somebody on their phone comes around and runs a red light and to go onto the Tonkin Highway, the on-ramp, and head-on crash straight into this couple. And I'm the first one on the scene. This is like 6 o'clock in the morning. There's nobody around.
Fuck.
So I jump out of the truck. I run up, and dude, I've never seen so much blood in my life. Like it literally, it was the most horrific thing ever. And the police, I was questioned and stuff, and they said the one reason as to why they're not dead is because they had those nails with the skirting board with the nails in it. It stopped the engine from coming into the cab.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, so it completely fucked them, but at the same time, it kind of saved their asses. And whenever I think of PTSD now, I don't think of my trauma. I think of other people's trauma and what they've been through, and then I look back on it and I'm like, wow, like, if I wasn't there, they'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
And you're right in saying that we do revert to our training, right? And whether or not you've been trained in a specific scenario, just going through that scenario gives you a sense of training of what to do and what not to do.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll imprint onto your brain and you'll know for next time. Yeah. From where I was, my therapist's office, she's here in Perth, and I mentioned before that she did her PhD on 3,000 men in Australia with PTSD.
Right.
And she introduced me, man, I'd been to therapists, I'd seen people, I was against drugging myself because I'm sort of, anti that to get better.
We're in the same boat.
Yeah. And I'm just like, the first question she asked me is like, do you want medication? And I'm like, no. Because
Why is that the first question they ask these days, man?
Oh, because they're lobbied.
Yeah.
They're lobbied.
It's fucking foul, though, dude.
Yeah. Somewhere along the line, someone gets a kickback. It's all, look at the money. Yeah. So I'm sitting in the office and I say the first sentence of I don't know what it was. I just started talking. And she was so empathetic that I just cried.
Really?
Yeah, man. Gone. And she listened. And she didn't listen with her doctor's ears. She listened with her soul. And that's something that a lot of men don't have. A lot of people do not have access to someone that goes, yeah, okay, I feel you. Tell me everything, right? And so anyway, so she introduced me to this method called cognitive behavioral therapy, right? And the main idea of CBT, it's fringe, which means that it's not promoted widely in the psychotherapy scene, right? The main like problem solving method is a rewiring of your brain, right? And it was very like my ears pricked up when she mentioned this. And I'm like, tell me more, because I've had this thing in my life where I've always thought that there was something to do with the brain can heal, the brain can fix, right? Your thoughts can fix. And so I was introduced to that. And so basically what rewiring does is when you're in a catatonic state of anxiety, depression and stress, right? You cannot think clearly.
Correct.
You actually need intervention, right? Like big time. And a lot of guys don't understand that because the social expectations of men that have been through history, or Australian historical, is, tough it up, man up, whatever, just get on with it, right? But that's not true. We're all humans, right? And, a lot of guys just try to maintain the persona of, I'm cool. I'm all good. Yeah, that's right. So CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is a rewiring of the brain, right? So
how do they do it?
I went in and she goes, tell me everything, right? And I'm listing not financially stable, don't know my friends, no self-worth, right? She gets me to write this list. This list is fucking massive. And it's bad shit, right? It's everything that I think bad of myself because that's the state that I'm in at the time, right? It's bad.
Self-critical.
Yeah. And then I'm living that, and it's a revolving cycle, right? And then she goes, okay, now what I want you to do is tell me every word opposite to what you've written down, right?
Interesting.
I'm depressed. Okay. And she go, and it was spelling it out. And I'm sitting there like this. I'm like, fuck, I don't want to be here. Fuck this, man. Life's shit. And what's the opposite of depressed? I'm like, happy. What's the opposite of feeling like everyone hates you? Self-worth. What's the opposite of being financially unstable? Financially stable, right? And so basically, over a period of time, we got this list down and opposite, right? And she got me to list out everything that was opposite. At that time, I still did not believe in this whole method. I was just going along with it. But in the back of my mind, I was like, I'll go along with it. Okay, cool. So what she did is she wrote out a 20-line like manifesto, man. I call them my 20 lines, right? I am worthy, I am safe, I am loved, I am helpful, I'm generous, I'm self-sufficient, I love my life, I love the person I am, right? In 20 lines.
So positive self-affirming thoughts, right?
Yeah, affirmation of self. Yeah, exactly. And then what she did is she presented this paper to me and she goes, read it out loud. And I'm like, why? And she's like, just read it. And I'm like, I read it. And I didn't believe anything that I was saying on those lines.
At that time?
Yeah, at that time.
Okay.
I was so fucked in my head that I did not believe the words that she had written. And then what she did is she timed me reading them. So the first time it took me about 5 minutes to read these 20 lines, right? And then she goes, I want you to do it in 4 minutes. I'm like, okay. Yep, happy days, done it. What's the next one? And then what she did is and this sucked. This was such hard work. When you don't believe in something, but really you want to, doing this work sucked. 50 times a day for 3 months, I read out loud my 20 lines, right? Now, the end of the story is that after 3 months, I was completely healed.
Whoa.
Completely fucking healed. And I believed in myself. I knew who I was. I knew my self-worth. But it was hard at the beginning saying this stuff. I know who I am. Well, no, I don't. And over the course of saying my lines, I slowly fucking believed in myself. And I'll tell you why. So physiologically, our brain is actually got this section called the auditory cortex, right? Auditory cortex is divided into 3 sections: primary, secondary, and tertiary. Primary auditory cortex is used for interpreting verbal cues. Secondary auditory cortex is used for interpreting rhythm, music, right? Tertiary is used for interpreting tertiary sounds, like the birds, like the cars going past and all that. Now, the trick to CBT is that when we hear sounds, yes, we hear sounds, but every sound is implanted into our subconscious, right? And when I'm saying the words out loud, I believe in myself, I'm worthy, I'm loved, I love my life, I have friends, I'm financially stable. Even though I don't believe it here, it's getting implanted here. It's rewiring my brain to believe that I am worth something, right? And if the message is that if people can actually understand that bit of psychology or physiology.
No, that's it.
Physiology?
Yep.
Then they'll be able to understand the method in which CBT works, right? So you are tricking your subconscious out of a catatonic state of depression into belief of self.
Whoa.
Right?
That's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. And it fucking works, man. Till the day I die, I'll spread the message on rewiring your brain by sound, right? And then if we were to go back into frequency, sound, energy, vibration, that's a whole nother conversation. But the simplicity is that I was absolutely healed from the things that traumatized me, my self-consciousness, my what people are thinking about me. Am I enough? Did I do the right thing? Is that corner of that cabinet that I built enough? Is it perfect? Is there nothing like that? It doesn't haunt you anymore at all. The thing with anxiety is that it haunts you daily because something more powerful is like putting this cloud over you. But the thing is, you can fix it with your own thoughts when you understand what's happening in your brain, right? And there's power in that. So much fucking power. And I believe that if people knew that, then there'd be fucking less suicides, there'd be less depression. You know, if they were to actually switch off from everything, like study your brain, write it down, do some self-work, you know, and do it on the quiet. You don't have to tell anyone. Like, no one has to know. But what they will know is the results at the end of it. Fuck, man, you were a mess 2 months ago when you came to the pub. What's up? What made you so happy? I want to know that secret. You know, like, fuck, it worked.
The switching off is the hardest part, I think. Especially, like, I know a few guys that have done themselves in on site.
Same.
Terrible story of a guy was on an airplane with my brother. He was doing pretty bad, and he went to the toilet, and nobody knew that he had 2 zip ties with him, connected together, pulled the ties.
Fuck.
And I think, like, just a conversation would have saved that life.
Absolutely.
Just a singular chat, you know, with somebody that it doesn't even need to be somebody that the person knows, you know.
It's better if you don't know.
If you don't know them, correct. I think that when we talk about ourselves, it's almost a reflection of our surroundings. And if you're constantly like scrolling Instagram or TikTok and you're seeing all these people with like these great lives, because nobody puts on shit things that happen in their lives on Instagram.
Nah,
you know, nobody would follow that shit. So they're constantly getting bombarded with like, you don't have as much as I have. And then, or you're not as much as I am. You
know what the funny thing about that is? I did one post on my Instagram about how I'd suffered, right? And not in a victim way, right? I'm never a victim. It's always, so you've got a problem, solution. I love solutions. And I'll never go, oh, life's been so hard and all this. You know, that post was about like, you know, here's the fucking keys on how you can get better too, right? I did that post. It's the most engagement I've ever had on any post in my entire Instagram life.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it's real.
It's fucking real, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get sick of all the fake shit, man.
Yeah.
And that's why I love this. what I do.
Yeah.
Which
yeah,
is I
you
get to
would.
have engaging conversations face to face. When people want to do the over the internet thing,
Yeah.
no, I'm not going to do a Zoom meeting. I'm not going to do a Zoom call with you. The reason as to why I don't do it is because if I'm sitting in front of you, there's no notification that comes up above your head.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, you can't be distracted.
Yeah.
Well, you can be distracted, but then it'd be over, you know?
I'm distracted by good Japanese whiskey.
Oh, fucking get into it, son. I wish I could enjoy some.
I know,
Yeah,
and
damn.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
I can't wait either. I can still have a cigar, though.
Yeah, good.
I've got a lot of time for people that understand their own trauma.
Yeah.
Because I think everyone has a degree of trauma.
Yeah.
And the people that don't do it rough,
Yeah.
they're normally the ones that aren't they're the most pretentious fuckers ever because they've never been through shit.
Man, some of the most interesting people that I've ever met in my life were fucked up at some point. And that's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, that's a fact.
You kind of have to make something, like, you need to realize that you ain't shit to be something, right?
Yeah, pretty much, man. Pretty much.
You need the trauma to be put in place to be like, oh, no one's going to come to save me. I need to take the reins for myself.
You know what the shit thing is that the healing process is harder than the pain. Absolutely. Because, okay, so this is how it works, right? You don't just get magically healed. It's process over time. And you have to be invested in yourself enough to want that future without that pain, right? It looks like this, okay? I'll go away from my therapist. I'm still feeling shit, right? I've learnt some tools about how to deal with stuff, right, in my therapist session. And I'm still feeling shit. But a situation will come up, and after you've been through a bit of a healing process, one thought will enter here and go, boom, fix this, do this, bing. And then you're sitting there depressed, and you go, fuck, okay, I got this. And it starts with one, I've got this. And then you're like, that's the biggest fucking confidence booster ever, because the first time you do it sets precedent, okay? In your soul, in your fucking mind, in your life, in your heart, right? And then it goes away. Then you're depressed again. Then you're fucking anxious. And you're like, fuck, what was that? What happened? And then another situation comes up, and then a totally different tool that you've learnt or a piece of information or whatever hits you at a time where you'd be fucking more depressed, and then you're like, fuck, that worked. Who am I? Like, and then all the questions just start flooding, man. It's just like, who am I? Okay, now I realise that I have the ability to change with the tools that I've been given to then deal with that situation, right? And it's a slow process. There might be fucking weeks between you get that thought or the tool or the word or one sentence, and then it hits you, man, like a fucking ton of bricks. And then when that happens, you got to just grab onto that, man. Like, that is so precious. Once you want a level of healing and you have always imagined a life, but you don't know the pathway or the road to get there, who cares about the pathway or road to get there? It's one small step after another. It's one part going, yeah, fuck, I dealt with that pretty cool. And now I don't feel so shit. And then you remember, you're like, fuck, like, I usually would have felt like this, right? But that doesn't happen. When you fucking focus on the healing, that's when the magic
There's
is,
a separation there, right?
Absolutely.
It's separating your current self with the belief that you are still the same old person that's hurt. Yeah.
Nah.
Disassociation, they say it's a negative thing, but I think sometimes it can be a real positive thing.
Can help in a breakup.
Fucking oath. Yeah. But I truly believe that. I think that there is something to being able to look at yourself in a different way to always having the same thought. In like what you're saying with the CBT.
Yeah.
And understanding that the person that says, I'm anxious, I'm depressed, I'm all these things, isn't that person. Because when you're a baby, everything, the world's fucking bliss.
Oh, man.
You know, and it's a programming that comes over time and time and time, and from different sources, like either whether it's a cult, a shitty parent, anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You could be influenced into thinking you ain't shit, you ain't this, you ain't that. And
So
I do believe that there is something really powerful to dissociation, because you are not your thoughts.
no, and you are not the sum of your past either.
Correct.
You are who you. That's a Stoic. That's a basic Stoic philosophy. So, okay, here's an interesting concept. How innocent and perfect are babies? Right? Here's an idea that might blow you away. All bad behavior, I'm going to take that back a second. Most bad behavior is learnt behavior.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
right?
agree.
Given, okay, so we go down the path of epigenetics. Actually, I'd love to talk about epigenetics because that's a fucking wicked subject. Most bad behavior is learnt behavior, right? Which means that we're a product of our environment. Okay, so like you grow up, there was a famous test when they fucking experimented on humans in the 20s and whatever. They split two twins at birth.
Oh, I've heard about this, and they ended up in the same job and everything, right?
Yeah. So your environment dictates who you are and who you identify as yourself to be, right?
Correct.
So all bad behavior is learnt behavior. Babies are innocent. You don't come out with any, like a baby, like a 4-year-old isn't racist.
Yeah.
Right?
Hitler wasn't like this as a baby.
No, not at all. Not Hitler was called a Jew. But anyway, that's something else. That's something else we can talk about. Anyway, So the theory is that all bad behavior is learnt behavior, and if you can learn it, then you can also unlearn it, right? With the power of the brain.
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I think higher awareness is never a bad thing. And understanding why you do things and what are your standard programming to, like, this happens, so I do this. Like, I've talked to people that have been hurt in really bad relationships before.
Yeah.
And their thoughts are, because you'll never meet the same person twice. Dickheads are everywhere, but they move around a lot, right? And you can't assume that something's going to happen exactly the same way as it has happened, because that would just be a self-evil
And contaminate any relationship you're in.
Correct.
Henceforth. Yep.
When you talk to somebody that has done self-healing, there is a pullback to a reaction time. When you think something, you have a reactive period.
Yes.
I think it's 7 seconds.
Yep.
Where, like, when you see, if you make someone cry, don't make anyone cry. But if you
Never.
make someone cry, it doesn't happen straight away. They sit there thinking. You see the physiology change. The shoulders droop.
Yeah.
They put their head down, and then they start crying.
Yeah.
But if they have a thought prior to that, there's a different type of programming. It comes with a higher grade of awareness. I've done a lot of research on neuro-linguistic programming, NLP.
Yeah, NLP. Yep.
And I've 100% have forgotten most things about it. But the one takeaway that I did get from it was how you look at things. Now, when I look up, I'm not ignoring you. I'm exploring my brain.
Yeah.
And I think there is something to that. When people get sad, they look down because they want
Yeah.
to be in this moment. They look at the ground. This is the reality.
Yeah.
When I get sad, I look up for some reason, and it goes away.
Yeah.
I start to think,
Yeah.
oh, well, what else is going on here that I have control of or don't have control of?
Yeah. Well, it's
really interesting.
For me, that's a type of zoom out. Again, zoom out. When you're talking to somebody that is been through trauma and ultimately healed, that 7-second gap between the end of your question and the response is your base level of self-worth, right? And that's not there with people that are experiencing trauma at the same time, okay? So that you'll always get an answer based off their self-worth,
Yep.
right?
Correct.
However, you speak to someone that isn't healed or going through a healing process, you'll always get an answer that's based off them or a victim or something that they're going through, and they'll relate it back to them. So my thing is that I believe that every single human being is, obviously born with a brain, and
I know that some that aren't. Jesus.
you know, like I say that, but the seriousness of the matter is that everybody is born with a brain that has the capability of changing who they are fundamentally, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with changing who you are after a period of pain, and I feel as though there's a few words that get floated around these days, like trauma, narcissist, love, that the meaning's lost, right?
Yeah.
Because again,
it's too broad now.
Yeah, it's broad, but it's I'm going to put you into this category, and then that category in my mind is like compartmentalized, and we're not going to have any more dialogue because that's what I believe, right? That's just fucked. Man, if people actually knew the true meanings of the words, then they'd be scared to throw those words around.
A little bit more reluctant.
Yeah, absolutely. So, with the healing process of CBT, it's life changing, and life changing because you're like, dare I say it, you're born again, right? You go through an ultra period of pain, and everybody does. Everybody goes through a period of pain. There's nobody that's walking this planet that hasn't gone through some subjective bit of pain.
Yeah.
Right? When you're walking through that healing stage, you're like a baby, man. You're a sponge to what's going on. And like the message that I would love to tell people is that if you have learnt who you are after a period of healing, to follow that, not to fucking sink back into what was comfortable, because what was comfortable is going to get you to the same place that you were, right?
Yeah.
So when you have a fucking life-shifting moment like I have, I was fucking excommunicated from everyone that I grew up with. My parents, you know, like I married the cult leader's daughter.
Jesus.
Yeah, right? And there was 8 cult leaders, but I married one of their daughters. And I didn't see my daughter for fucking 3 years. And that wasn't by choice. That was, I'm a black sheep. I'm fucking dead to their dogma. And now I've got her living with me.
Awesome, bro.
You know?
That's
because
so sick.
because the power of the mind is that there's something more to control. But more to control, as in...
Yeah, you can control more. Yeah, I understand.
So
that's a heavy story.
Well, this is the thing, man, is that like what you're going through at this particular time, you have to understand that there's a percentage of the population that are going through exactly the same thing, right? And there is a way out of it. I'll tell you a wild story, man. So there was a guy by the name of Frederick Moritz that 1700s, 1800s painted a massive painting of the devil and just an ordinary man sitting at a chess table, right?
I've seen that painting.
Yeah. I'll tell you the fucking story, man.
All right,
It'll blow your mind.
Let's go.
So they're sitting at a chess table and the man is like this. The piece of artwork is called Checkmate, right?
Yeah.
He's sitting at the table like this. Fuck, I'm fucked, right?
But he has checkmate.
No, he's been checkmated by Satan.
Yeah, by Satan.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So the devil says checkmate. Okay. Now, it wasn't till about 100 years later that, have you seen this story? Yeah. That a professional chess player walked by inside the Louvre in Paris, and he looked at this picture of these two people playing chess, and he goes, the guy's got one more move on the table.
Yeah, he doesn't have checkmate yet, yeah.
And the guy that has, the man, has got the move that will make checkmate to him, which means, you know, like when you look at it, either Moritz was a fucking genius and then put some like subliminal messaging inside that painting, which I want to believe.
Yeah,
because
of
that's
course,
what
right?
art's about, right?
Yeah.
That's what art's about. Or he just didn't know at the time. But this professional chess player says, yeah, he's got one more move. And that move wins the game. And the thing is that when you're so fucking down in the dumps and there's nothing, there's no other option, your life is fucking caved in, just know that there's one more move to play. And that is knowledge of self.
Wow.
Because if you're so fucking deep and wrecked, there's always one more out, always. And that's not suicide, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely no way. And I'll give you some wild statistics, right? 2022, 9 people a day committed suicide. 3,285 people in 2002 committed suicide. 75% of those people were men, right?
Whoa.
Yeah, fucked. And what I want to say to those people that have that thought, and I've had that thought thousands of times, is that there's always an out, right? Tonight, I'm wearing this jacket, okay? This jacket is the favourite jacket of my partner's brother. His name was Aaron Dickinson. A year and about 5 days ago, he committed suicide, right? Damn. And I'm wearing his favourite jacket, right? This is how much I strongly believe in the power of the mind, okay? Beautiful human being, right? If you were having a shit time, he would come from another country to fucking be with you, party on, do whatever. He was the life of the party, right? I met him, so my partner and I have been together for about a year and a half, and I met him once over Zoom, right? Okay. And we just partied on, have a good time, whatever. Never met him in person. But the promise that I made to my partner was that his name is going to live forever because suicide in men today is so rife, and I disagree with it on the basis of you can heal yourself with your thoughts.
You're getting me here, bro.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. And
that's sad.
And this is a representation of, man, I was on the edge, bro. I didn't know if I was going to walk into my psychologist's session and kill her. That's how fucked up my head was. It exploded with just shit that I couldn't control. Nothing was right. Absolutely nothing. And so I fucking know, man. Like, I know what it's like to be up on site and your missus is cheating on you. It's fucked. It's shit, right? But the message that I want to send to people is that you have got the power inside here to make here right. 100%. And my brother-in-law, he was always going to be my brother-in-law. He passed away, okay? Because stuff wasn't right. I wasn't able to have a conversation with him, right? But from what he went through, I'm going to make sure, one, his name, and two, his message lives on forever, right? Man, fuck, I'm going to say it again. He was the guy that would fly from England to the Netherlands if you were feeling shit to have a drink with you.
Wild.
Right. Yeah? And I'm representative of him and the love and energy that he put into people, right? But he didn't have that himself. He was that dark. Like the darkness got to him, man. And, you know, every suicide in Australia affects 59 people directly, right?
Yeah.
And when you look at it, 27 million people or whatever, I believe that the numbers say 1 in 5 people walking around are directly affected by somebody's suicide. Man, it's rife. But the message is that you can control it by your thoughts, bro. That's like, I did it. I'm the laziest person that I know. And if I can do it, so can you, you know?
Yeah.
And there's no depths that I haven't been. Man, I didn't know if I was going to murder someone, right? And I'm saying this on camera. The world's going to hear this. I didn't know if I was sitting in this woman's office. But she had enough empathy to look across me from where you're sitting and cry with me, you know? I didn't know her, so it didn't matter. Didn't have any judgment. You know what I mean? And I cried rivers. She cried rivers, but she got me through it. She had a method. She had a method.
Those people are gold, bro.
Every single human can be saved because it's not that dark.
Suicide is the most horrendous thing. My my best friend Josh.
Sorry.
No, you're right. You're right. Heavy story, bro. By the way.
Sorry, man.
No, it's enlightening. Everyone, you're right, 100%. If you talk to anyone these days, they know someone that's gone through that or has a family member that's going through that. My best friend Josh, 2 years ago, so he's got a kid. He's still alive. He's my guy. So his first ever girlfriend, let's go back. We used to hang out when we were in high school together. And when I left high school when I was 14, I didn't get to see everyone for a couple of years because I was just working. And I get a phone call and he says, bro, the world's fucked. And I was like, what's going on? And he goes, Sharina just killed herself. And that was his partner.
Fuck me.
I was like, Jesus, man. I fucking broke down because we partied together fucking every weekend for years. And so this is the craziest thing. So Sharina passes away. The next year, both of his grandparents pass away. And him and his mum were living with the grandfather after the grandmother passed away. Just after the grandfather passed away, his mum dies.
Fuck.
He meets this nice girl. He has a kid with her. She had a bunch of, well, not a bunch. She had 3 kids, but he took those kids on like they were his own. He has another kid with her that's his own. Yeah. But he's still, I'm your dad kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Her mental state wasn't there. And she went and done some dumb shit and then got into a car with a drunk guy and they died.
Fuck, bro.
What the fuck, man?
Josh, if you're listening, man, I love you.
The cunt is the most down-to-earth person still after all of that shit. He's still a happy-go-lucky guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's been through hell.
Yeah.
I remember getting that phone call. Like, he was living with me on the last phone call that I got. And it was 2 years ago. And he called me up again. And he was like, bro, the world's fucked. And I was like, oh, no, not again. Fuck. Not again. And I did the same thing for him that you were telling me your brother-in-law did, which is as soon as I found out, every time I was working up north, I was living in Karratha, I got that phone call, I was on the next plane.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know, his network's gone. You know, who has he got? He's got his brothers.
Yeah.
You know? I think there's a polarity where you have those people that are, it's almost like the what's that comedian Robin he killed himself.
Oh yeah, the funniest guy on planet Earth.
Yeah, Robin Williams.
Flubber.
Yeah, Flubber. He took his own life, but he was like
the funniest guy on planet Earth.
The most happy-go-lucky person you'd ever think would be.
That's a facade. It's a facade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you some statistics, man. So, with every suicide, it directly affects 59 people, right? On average. Okay, these are statistics from I want to say AEC, somewhere, but this is Googleable.
Chuck us that later.
Yeah. Thanks, bro. And I hate that there's a verb or noun or whatever it is that Google is now involved in the dictionary. Anyway.
Is it actually?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Okay. Google it.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what? Google the question that you're saying, motherfucker. I hate that because, you know, they're going to own countries. But anyway, that's another subject. Suicide eases the pain because there is no pain, right?
Well, it eliminates it, doesn't it?
Well, it temporarily eliminates your personal pain, okay? But statistically, 59 people around you and in your circle will be affected and carry that trauma, right? Carry that trauma. I want to introduce to you an idea, a study of science called epigenetics. And I've read, okay, so amongst all the books that I've ever read in my life, right, 2 of them have stuck out to me, like majorly. Number 1 is It Didn't Start With You by Dr. Mark Woolen. And number 2 is Civilized to Death by Christopher Ryan. I'll get to Civilized to Death, but let's start with It Didn't Start With You, right? There is a study in science called epigenetics, and that is the study of family inherited trauma, generational inherited trauma, okay? And when you open up that can of worms in your head and you feel generationally inherited trauma, you're like, okay, cool, I want to listen. Let's talk about it, right? So this Dr. Mark Woolen, came up with the whole thesis, the idea. And the idea is that you can be healed for traumas that you have that you don't know where the origins were by tracing your genealogy. And I'll tell you how it works, right? The science actually backs this. So there was a hypothesis turned into a thesis backed by science, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. The science behind this is really, really simple. There's a famous theory called the rat park theory. And
Is that with the heroin?
no, there's another one.
Okay.
There's a few. Obviously, so rats or mice whatever, share between 88 and 95% similarity DNA with humans, right? And they also have a 20-week generation, which means that they can reproduce grandfather, daughter, granddaughter in a year and a bit, right?
That's wild.
Yeah, wild. So this rat park theory. The rat park theory is that they got a female rat. They made the female rat smell cherry blossoms, right? Every time the female rat would smell cherry blossoms, they would zap her with an electric shock to induce trauma.
Whoa.
Right? So, and so when you know that the rat is traumatized, is when you feed her or make her smell cherry blossoms and she scatters. Right? She doesn't want to be around that area where cherry blossoms are. That's when you know trauma is induced onto the rat, right? They got that rat to that point. They bred that rat down to a daughter, and then they bred that rat down to a granddaughter. So there's about a year and a bit of scientific experiment, right? When the baby, granddaughter rat was age enough to understand consciousness and smell and all that sort of stuff, they made the granddaughter rat smell cherry blossoms, and that granddaughter rat scattered. That granddaughter rat...
What the fuck?
Yeah, bro. That granddaughter rat did not know what she was traumatized from, but she still responded in the same way her grandmother did.
Whoa.
Yeah, okay? And if we share that kind of similarity with rats, then that process is then transferred over into humans. Based off psychological evidence from multiple psychologists.
That is fucking crazy.
The first example in this book that I'm talking about, Dr. Mark Woolen, clinical psychologist, right, has A client by the name of Jesse. Jesse is 21, I'm going to say 21 years old from my memory, 21 years old.
Yeah.
He was a star baseball player, had a scholarship, had every fucking thing that you need in college to succeed and live a wild life, right? Now, all of a sudden, so when Dr. Mark Wallen saw him, he was 21, but all of a sudden his trauma started at the age of 17, right? And the trauma was that he woke up in the middle of the night, cold sweats, hot sweats, insomniac, couldn't get to sleep. He went through years of this, lost his scholarship, lost his friends, lost everything, right? And went to sleep hypnotherapist, whatever, to try to cure him, to see what was going on. Mm-hmm. His last resort was this doctor who was conducting a fringe research, right? So outside of mainstream, like thought train, psychology, right? And what this doctor did was went back through his family genealogy, his family history. And he discovered that this Jesse guy had a great uncle that passed away in a blizzard at the age of 17, working on power lines, died, dead. The family at the time said nothing about it, but held the trauma inside. And through the generations, it's passed down to Jesse, and he has adopted that trauma as his own. And what the science is in humans is that when we spike, I think it's in adrenaline, adrenaline, ultra adrenaline,
noradrenaline,
yep. Produces cortisol, and then that cortisol imprints onto the DNA strain, which gets passed down 3 generations.
It would be right? RNA, right?
RNA, probably. I don't know because I'm not a scientist.
DNA is like the 2 strands. RNA is basically all of like, so DNA would be like hair color, eye color, skin color, all that kind of stuff. But then RNA is like, how do you think? Like all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's more epigenetics based, I guess.
Yeah.
That is fucking wild, though, bro.
And then what's further is that once this Jesse guy was confronted with the information that the trauma that he was experiencing was not his own, right? It happened 60 years prior. He was able to confront that trauma, talk to the trauma, and say, I release you, or get fuck off, or whatever. And he was healed.
Whoa.
Right?
Whoa.
That's epigenetics.
Yeah.
And if you're studying the brain and how shit works, man, this is new. This is within 10 years, right? So I'm just going to throw it out there. 2010, right? All this shit started to come around. New science, new fields of
education.
New fields of education, right? They're happening on a daily basis, right? So when you are faced with a trauma that you don't know the origins of, it's not your own. And then when you realize that it hasn't happened from you and it's not your fault, it's actually a bit easier to let go.
Yeah.
You know?
100%. I think that actually comes with like personal trauma as well. If there's like another person, or even just a situation that wouldn't happen if a person wasn't there, I don't really think you can blame yourself too much. I think it's just what we are programmed to do, is take responsibility. That's what we're told to do. That's the positive thing. But in trauma setting, I think that taking responsibility is almost like realizing what isn't because of what hasn't happened because of you. It's just happened. I think a lot of the time, like, I grew up without a real father. He was in my life.
I'm sorry, man.
No, don't be.
No, well, I am, because every human deserves that.
Oh, of course. You
know, but
it's very strange that we were talking about words creating a way that you think about yourself. I used to think I heard voices when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I used to hear that, and it was always a voice inside my head that was like more of a manly voice, And
Yeah.
I haven't said this on the podcast before ever. So this is
raw.
This is
Go.
raw as shit.
Talk to me. Tell me everything.
I used to tell my mum, I was like, Mum, I can hear like a voice and it's saying that I'm loved and if I'm, it was more like I'm loved, but if I loved more, I would come back. And I thought it was my dad in my head, right? I got told about 4 or 5 years ago that there was a story of after my father left didn't leave him. My mother left my father. He was a serial thief, a serial bad boy, just a dickhead, right?
Yeah.
And I found out that he was actually living in my mum's roof.
Wow.
In her ceiling.
Wow.
When I was 4 or 5, and I had an air vent in my room. So
fuck.
There was probably, while I was sleeping, I was probably hearing him say a bunch of things to me. And then...
But if they were in the, loving sense, man, that's as fucked up as it is, that's a legend.
Yeah.
I love you. You're worth something.
Yeah.
Fuck, man.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's like...
It's hard to fucking even fathom that. Because
Yeah.
that same dude... here's a fucking story for you.
Tell me everything.
I get a phone call. So my real father, I get a phone call from my mom, and she's like, "I need to come and talk to you." Mm-mm. And she was I could hear that she was sad, and so she comes over to my apartment, and she's standing there with my brother, and I said, "He's dead, isn't he?" She goes, "What?" I was like, "He's dead, isn't he?" She goes, "How do you know?" And I was like, "I just had a feeling." And then she goes, "Yeah, he's dead."
Wait,
my real father, he was dead, and I just had a feeling that he was gone. I don't know what, if that was something in me or I just had this overwhelming feeling but I didn't cry. I didn't cry because I didn't know him.
Yeah.
And my brother knew him. My brother was 4 when he left, so he had 4 years with him.
Okay.
And he left when I was literally 1 year old, so I don't remember anything about it.
Yeah.
A week goes by, and I'm thinking a lot about it. I was thinking this guy, he fucked up my mum's life.
Yeah.
But I think if he stayed in my life, he would have fucked mine up too. So he did the right thing by staying away.
Do you know that's an observation, and that's a zoom out observation, right? Take away the personal aspect. That's a zoom out observation that is healing. And big time, because you're not a victim from that.
Yeah.
You're not a victim from him leaving.
No, I could never put
It's lemons to lemonade.
Yeah.
Literally, bro.
Yeah.
Wow. That's powerful, man.
So a week after that, I have the thought that okay, it's done. The trauma is over. I always had the inkling that he could walk back into my life at any point. Get a phone call. Hi, we have your brother here. And I was like, oh, okay, what's he doing? What the fuck is Travis up to? What the fuck? And they're like, no, Tyrone. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, are you Jacob Rhodes? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, yeah, I have your 11-year-old brother, Tyrone Rhodes, here. And I was like, no way. Hung up the phone. And I cried and cried and cried, bro. It was the most roughest thing to hear. Because I was like, oh no, he's done it to someone else.
Whoa.
And I quickly called the lady back. I was just like, where is he? And she's like, Melbourne. He's in an orphanage in Melbourne.
Whoa.
He got dropped on their doorstep when he was 4 and he's 11 years old.
Fuck.
I was like, fuck. That was at the height of COVID. So I couldn't.
Whoa,
I couldn't do anything.
Yeah. I mean, I feel you right now, bro.
As soon as COVID was over, man, I saw that fucker. I saw Tyrone for the first time. We saw each other in Kings Park. His foster family brought him over, and
wow,
bro, I was like, dude, it was so cool. Fuck.
You know what, man? I fucking love you, and you know what? Thank you for sharing that, bro. That was wild, bro. What a beautiful story, man. You know, of people coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah? That's people coming together, man.
Yeah. Fuck.
Thank you.
That's all right, bro.
Thank you.
My
Thank you. Man, that's cool. That's cool.
It was cool, man, because like it looked like my older brother when we were younger, and he was just running at me.
Wow.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Wow, man.
Yeah. So now he's now living over here. So
Cool.
it's fucking awesome.
Yeah. And he's living with his foster.
They moved
Yeah.
to Perth so he could be closer to us.
You know what? Those two parents that did that, they are the most beautiful human beings that are walking this earth.
Oh, they're lovely.
Man,
Yeah.
what a fucking thing to do for your kid, for your adopted kid.
It's amazing.
That's how selfless is that? Oh my gosh.
They're real parents. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
saying like a parent can be anything. Like, I have a stepdad and he's my dad.
Yeah, yeah.
Bro, he's my dad. You know, he's my best friend. But he's, you know, like everyone has like their dad and they say that that's their best friend. Well, my dad didn't need to stick around. He chose
Yeah, yeah.
to stick around.
Yeah.
And I've had the reference of a dickhead father, and I know what a good one is. Fuck. Yeah.
You know what I appreciate about you? Your story is more interesting every time you post a podcast. And this Roadshow podcast is representative of who you are as a person. And when you reflect to the people that you're talking about, I'm guaranteeing you that in 100 years from now, people are going to look back at these videos and go, wow, that's what time looked like back then. And you, like you don't have any censorship. You've got no allegiance. You're not bought, right? Spotify doesn't own you. Nope. You can't cancel your contract with anyone. We're raw. And you know what, man? Like, with everything that we've spoken about tonight, like, I know that there's going to be a lot of people that have that same shit going on. And
it's very common.
yeah, it is. But what's not common is the platform to people to hear about it. No one hears about this shit. Unless you're drinking around a mate's fucking patio and you've got 5 minutes because his missus is inside, whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you know what? You've got power in your story, which is going to live past longer than you do.
Well, thanks, man.
And that's huge.
Appreciate it.
And no, well, it's real. It's fact. It's not kind. It's real. And people need to know that, man. You know, like, my mates, they need to hear this because we're dudes, right? We go through fucking shit. We've got a dad that's left us. We've sold our house to nothing. You know, like we've upended. Everybody has got something going on. And when they can hear something from an Aussie dude, Australia particularly, it's funny, that psychology of Australians hearing Australians going through shit and not even concerned about what other people are thinking about. When that shit happens, people listen. And I appreciate you because you've fucking been able to share that. And you're not censored. That's real. That happened. That's fact. People can't argue with that. People will never argue with that, and people will resonate with that always. And the thing is that in this position, if people see you, if people resonate with you, then they're going to resonate with their own story and go, well, fuck, that's mine's a bit similar to that. And that's how he healed through that situation. Maybe I should try that. You know what? That's going to heal a nation. That's going to heal a nation of men. And I'm fucking proud of you, bro. I love this.
No.
And I'm fucking honored and blessed to be here.
It goes back
Honestly.
the other way, man. The stuff that you've been telling me about trauma and your PTSD, which is hard to open up about, man. Like, you've had a rough ride up until this point, but you're living it, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I love about you.
Yeah.
You know, like when I saw you painting when I came to the art exhibition, you were in your zone, bro. I could tell it was just like locked in flow state. Here we go.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful thing to see,
Always.
and this is what I do. You know,
I love this.
I'm a conversationalist.
This isn't the first. Is this? Cut that. This is, yeah. You know what? I've had a half a bottle of Becky right now.
It's all good.
And gin at the same time.
Oh yeah, you mix it up.
Absolutely. I thought it was water. Yeah, whatever. Fuck. My eyes were open. I went to Italy, and I was like, why do we go out to dinner in Australia? Like, why?
I guess it would be like social
But is
constructs.
it? But is it?
I don't know.
You notice that most of the time you go out to dinner, most people have something to say about the establishment. Most people have something to say about the establishment, the music, the atmosphere, or the food, right? When you're in Italy, they don't give a fuck about that. It's the people that you're with.
Yeah.
It's community. There's no community in Australia when you go out.
Yeah, no.
Someone's night is destroyed by a particular way a margarita is made.
That's true.
Yeah, or a particular way the bread's fucking cooked.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. That makes sense.
And that changed my whole perspective. It's like, why do we go out to eat? We don't go out to eat fucking fancy food and whatever. Food's cooked the same. Give or take a few restaurants that actually do wicked recipes, but we go out for community.
Yeah.
We go out for people. We go out for connection. And that's something that Australia is lacking. You don't go out for connection. I've been in Nobu, in Perth here.
Yeah.
And I've seen how do I put it? An Oriental and Asian family eat the sushi from Nobu, and their entire night was destroyed by the fact that they thought a particular dish was meant to taste a certain way, and it didn't.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
and
strange.
yeah, it's fucked. But
Well, they would know.
well, they would know.
Yeah. But
or
yeah.
we
I
go
understand.
out to be with people, to socialize, to have that connection.
It kind of sounds like those people are probably just closed off. You know, you have those family dynamics where they'll go out to eat, but they won't go out to like be with each other. It's like the kids are like scrounging off the parents, and the parents are just doing it to keep the family together and stuff.
Yeah.
One interesting point that I wanted to bring up though is the visual aspect of your artwork. How like neon fluoro bright it is, and everything has its own meaning. It's like you've altered your way of thinking, that because you're losing your sense of taste and smell, you are hyper vigilant of the visual.
Absolutely.
Which is a really interesting thing. Like I couldn't imagine too many artists out there that have those gifts, if you will.
Well, most likely. And I should probably pay you $230 for a therapy session there, but you're most likely correct.
Doesn't that make sense though?
Yeah,
'Cause
no,
your
it
artwork
does.
stands out like a motherfucker. Like I saw that Brian Hose painting that you gave him. Oh my god, it was fucking beautiful.
Yeah, super fun. That was a really fun piece.
Awesome. Even the one that I saw you painting, I was like, this is so wild that this is happening right here.
Yeah, but you know what? If we were to deduct the psychology out of that, I would be compensating for 2 senses that I've lost.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm getting at.
Exactly. And it expels and it speaks volumes, I think. I'd like to think in my work. So with my work, we actually haven't really talked much about my art.
That's fine.
Which is cool
That's
because it's not about the art is a byproduct of my experience. So when you purchase art, you can purchase anything graphic design, right? You can get a graphically designed print for fucking $600 for your whole wall, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
We've talked
Sweet.
about somebody that does that. Yeah.
Absolutely. But when you step into the realm of personality, who are you? What's your story? This is individual. Price steps up. But the whole idea of art is to create the story, and I feel like I'm blessed with a pretty unique perspective on what your story is. Like I'm a conduit pipe, right? Your story, canvas, conduit pipe, passes through me. And I filter it in a way that I see. That's all art is. And that's the store of value, you know? But I love bright, and I love bold, and I love punchy. And I think that that's what art should be. And I also believe that the time people take to look at your artwork should exceed the time that it took to paint the artwork.
In what
That's
way?
special.
In what way?
Oh, well, that's... If I spend 5 hours painting your artwork, right? A commission piece, yeah? If over the time of that artwork hung on your wall is 50 hours and people just embedding themselves and they see something subjective in it and it speaks to them, that's worth my time.
Yeah.
I fucking love that.
Yeah.
I love those hours just spent like looking at my work.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody's going to see something different.
True.
Because of their different view on life, right? You'll see pink in a different color because pink responds to you differently,
Yeah.
right? Whereas pink might hurt someone. Whereas, so in that scenario, they might look to the lower part of the painting and not focus on the pink. You know what I mean? Whereas each person will get a different perspective out of that work, and it's different for everyone.
Whoa. I just had a thought. That means paintings are a sort of neuro-linguistic programming.
Absolutely.
Because where you place your eyes is what you're feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, and it's subjective to what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I understood about making a podcast, and it's relevant to what we were just talking about, is I understood that this right here, what happens inside the screen is important. When I first started, there was like shit everywhere. There was a bare white wall. And now I understand that the background matters. And I'm filling in the space. And that's kind of what you're doing with... It's not so much you're filling in the space with just anything. You're filling in the space with things that are relevant if they're a commissioned piece to that person through the observation of conduit, which is you.
Yeah, that's right. That's why people buy the artist, because it's the artist's perception on what's happening in that environment that makes people go, wow, I want that. That's sick. So I just did a piece for a client down in Mandurah, and beautiful couple, lovely human beings. And it was like, when I met them, it was, you know, the whole philosophy of polar opposites, right? One is super on the point with logics and facts, and then the other one is creative. The other one's creative.
Yeah, okay.
Right? And loves that sort of grey area of life, right? And I'm like, how the fuck do I join that together as like a symbiosis in one art piece? And yeah, I ended up creating like a Greek bust, right? Which was the logical fact, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, all in one sort of image.
Wow.
And then the Egyptian hieroglyphics down, like falling down from it. And then that whole piece is interpretive of them. That's them too, together. But they'll never, ever understand the significance of that, because my secret, they think they bought an art piece, right? But I see those two people and as a couple, and that's what I joined together.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? They'll never see that.
Yeah.
But that's my view on that art piece.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's how I viewed them. And, like, that's the story that I saw, and I needed to paint that story.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
It's almost like a really fringe doctor, right? You know what I'm saying? Take a look at this and give me some random, like, not advice, but like fix me in a way that only you can do it, like a specialist.
Yeah. And you know what's funny? From that art piece, like, I've painted this massive Greek's face, right? A Greek bust. Imagine, like, David, you know, Greek statue, whatever. I've painted that on a 8-foot canvas. Whoa. Huge, right? Massive, like ceiling height, right? And they've told me that people have come into the house and not even seen the face.
Whoa.
Yeah, yeah. So like when people have a subjective view of the artwork, they see where their space allows them to see. And then my client, my friend, has been able to go, well, there's a face there, and they've gone, whoa, fuck, I can see that. That's sick, cool. You know, but originally they haven't seen that face. But when you look at the picture on my Instagram, it's like you can see a Greek bust right there. But up front and personal, you can't see it because you're so in depth in where your mind is at the time. Wild. I love art. That's so fucking wild, man. That's sick.
That is the craziest thing.
It's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun.
People will.
I'm so blessed, bro, to have that opportunity to do that for people.
It must be a fulfilling job for sure.
Absolutely.
It's not a job.
Yeah.
That's not a job. That's a
all.
passion for sure.
Yeah. Very, very blessed, bro.
Yeah, bro. So what have you got planned for the future? Do you look at having like a exhibition on yourself, or are you looking at anything like that?
Yeah, so I've had 4 exhibitions now.
Okay,
right. So, and I've only been in the art scene, the particular balls deep art scene for like 4 years now here in Perth. And I've had a lot of art exhibitions. I've had my work displayed in a lot of places, but for me, that mainstream get out there and whatever, it just doesn't do it for me. Honestly, doesn't. I would prefer that someone find me and go, hey, I like that style. What's your story? Come over, let's chat, do me a piece. For me, that's more soul-fulfilling, you know, rather than selling commercial pieces that I've done. And you know what? Like, nothing that comes out of my studio has got no purpose or reason. But if I do an exhibition, it's like I'm getting pieces out. I've got a quota to meet. You know what? The pieces are wicked, but it's not got that fucking, like, that finality, that depth in it.
Yeah.
Whereas opposed to actual commissions from people, you know, I want your story. Here's the conduit. Here's the canvas. Have this. That's your store of value. Man, that's just... And then on reveal day, oh, man, reveal day is wicked, bro.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I bet it's emotional, man.
Yeah, because, like, people are laying down $7,000, right? That's the average price for a piece, and that I'm not embarrassed about that. But people are paying $7,000 to have their story put on a canvas by somebody else, which means personally there's a big risk, right? You could get a fucking smiley face with a horse and you're like, fuck. But on reveal day, like what
to say? Smiley face.
Smiley face is wicked, but yeah. Smiley face with 3 eyes. Yeah. But on reveal day is that success. Man, when you drop the curtain and like someone looks at it and then they're still looking at it 10 minutes later. Oh, man. Wow.
Feel good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's sick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
But in a whole circle of life, my main message is that I was in such a fucked up place. I had a dream. I had an identity issue and crisis. And I am who I am. Now I'm an artist. That's what I do. I see art. I go to bed looking at art in my brain. It's fucked. I can't turn it off, right? But if you're in such a fucked up place, you do have a dream and you do have a hope to get out of that, right? Whatever that hope is, follow it. And then the product is the success. The end result, that's where you go, yes, fuck. I've that satisfies me. Fuck, you got to be satisfied. I'm satisfied when people look at my artwork after I've painted, their thing for 6 months and they're like, wow, that's cool. Sick. And then it's the dream that gets you out of a hole, of depression, anxiety, stress. The dream that gets, hold on to that and do that and follow it. It might be like laying wicked fucking crosshatch flooring, you know, for a high-end client. That's what might get you going. It might be rearing horses. You might be a mechanic, but you love horses. Go for that fucking horses, man. Like, like find a way in there. You know what I mean?
Don't waste time.
Nah,
Yeah.
not at all. Because nobody knows when their last day is.
Ain't that the fact?
Yeah, no one fucking knows.
Man,
Whew.
that was a big one.
I love you more.
Oh, God, dude. I love you, bro.
I
This
love you
has
more.
been fucking wild. Sorry to hear about you, brother. That was rough to hear, but I'm glad that my man here is making waves in awareness, for sure. This was epic, bro.
Yeah.
Really, really epic. It's cool to
Thank
see another side of you and everything that you're doing with your artwork.
Yeah.
And the message that you have with your, you know, the therapies that you laid out a map of how to get out of things.
Absolutely. Yep. Fucking oath. There's a lot. It's easy. Follow that fucking sequence, man. Follow that sequence. As an Aussie dude, follow that sequence, and you will step out of it. But here's the road.
Yeah.
Have it. And you know what? Let's go have a beer someday. Tell me all about your journey. I want to hear your story. I want to put it on paper, paint it, whatever. But your story strengthens you, man, and your self-worth. With no matter what you've been through, that's worthy of building a life from, man. And you can. It's like it's you know the age-old theory of like the phoenix rising, right? Like every dude is a phoenix rising. Like you're ash, and you get built up into a fiery fucking bird. Yeah?
Good way to put
Yeah.
that.
Oh, absolutely. One way there is suicide. Yeah, and that's easy for you, but it's hard for an average of 59 people around you. The second way is to rise up like a fucking phoenix. And you know what? Success is always going to be the best revenge. And if someone's fucking making you feel like that, then you succeeding above all expectations is going to make those people who fucking judged you originally go, wow, I need to question my life, don't I? You know, man, I could go on for hours about this, bro. Hard.
And we have. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been The Roadshow. You can catch Von on @whoislini. I got it in the bag. On Instagram. Do you have a website?
Currently, no. It's being developed right now. Cool. But Instagram, DM me, have a chat. Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, man.
Dude, that was awesome.
Love you. Love you.
If you're down, ready to go, wanna fly away with you, float